that like the ocean on a small boat, that would freak me out a bit.
Oh, what, you got a fear of the big wide open seas on a small raft?
Yeah, I think it's. Do you remember, like in the movies, they used to have like the ads beforehand, and they used to have this one, and it used to show these big seas, and it was just out in the middle of the ocean with these massive waves, and I used to sit there and just go, "Oh my god, don't like that."
No, I don't like that either.
So I
That's
wouldn't put
fucking
myself in that
freaky.
situation, but no, I don't have anything that I worry about or think, "Oh my god, I don't want." But to me, if you think about it, you attract it. So I don't ever go to
Oh,
those
shut
places.
up. For fuck's sake. Oh
This
my
this is
God.
my raft at sea situation, Campbell.
Oh, you
Sorry.
have one?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
This is my raft at sea
Oh,
situation.
this is
That's what I
it.
was trying to ask you. What's your
I
thing?
mean,
So you can
I
relate.
I just tend to do things without thinking too much about them and see what happens. Like the
yeah,
speaking,
like
like
almost blow himself up the other day, like that.
blow myself
Just
up, and
That
casual
like,
I
about it.
required
Yeah.
trauma therapy
well,
on. He's just
why
like,
should I take the
oh,
trauma when Kelly wants it? So,
yeah, fucking hell, man. I wonder, how would you react if you were at the dome and you heard this house explode?
well, that would be
I
different.
asked him that.
Well, and what do you say? Oh, yeah,
I know,
it'd be
no.
all
He
right.
said,
I
"Oh,
go,
but yeah, I'd be worried if I thought Kelly was in danger.
yeah, oh,
But
God,
otherwise, yeah,
thanks.
I'd be all right."
Yeah, I mean, I probably worry more about other people than myself. Like, that really didn't worry me too much, and you know, I just do stuff and see what happens.
It's
You
good
know.
strategy.
Well, look, good morning, Tartaria, Australia. I've just started recording. You didn't catch that question, but we just basically asked Campbell if he's got any fucking fears in this world, any trauma points that he can talk about, and his answer was, as you heard, yeah, getting stuck on a tiny little raft in the middle of the big bad sea. That was all he could come up with. Thanks, Campbell. He's going to be
And the
useless on tonight's
likelihood,
podcast.
Yeah,
the likelihood of that happening is fairly small, right? Hopefully,
well,
hopefully
exactly. I
not.
wouldn't do it. So I just don't hold on. Like, after my accident, I just didn't worry about getting in cars or anything, wasn't worried about it. Like, I don't know. But I mean,
Nothing.
I've been like, I did my first, like, self-help course thing when I was like 13, and I started reading all the books back then. So I kind of trained my mind in a different way to what most other people are getting trained in that point, which is where you start getting all your beliefs and everything about who you are in your life. And I was sort of going in a different direction, and I think that's why I'm wired a little bit differently.
Well, that didn't work for me, buddy. I bought my first personal development. It was called first the ecstasy, then the laundry. I think it was I can't remember who it was. And then I bought Deepak's Chopra,
Deepak, yeah,
endless, something like timeless, endless mind, timeless something. Anyway, I was like 12.
yeah,
So I was right there with you, buddy. But I have had to have
yeah.
many
I had them
sessions with
all,
Maggie
man.
over the
Richest Man
last
in
couple of years.
Babylon and Think and Grow Rich,
Yeah,
and
all of
all of
them.
those classics.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, all of that.
Well,
What was one about people? Like personality. I can't remember what it's called.
oh
Really.
yes, yes, I know the
No, the
one you're talking
What, how
about.
to
personality
make
type
friends and
one.
influence people.
Ah, that one. Yes.
Yep.
How to win it.
I
Yeah.
still haven't read that.
I didn't read that one either. I didn't read that one either.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Clearly worked for Campbell.
Yeah. There you go. Oh,
So,
now I am right. Trying to influence people.
good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Tartaria Australia Friday night special. We've got Autodidactic in the house, obviously, and of course, and we've invited our very own personal trauma therapist and healer and energy worker and reader and every single thing you need to access if you're trying to deal with your shit, Miss Maggie Palmer, to join us today. Hey, Maggie.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome,
Hi, everyone.
Maggie.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
mate. So Maggie's biggest fear is public speaking. So just to put it out there, because tonight we're talking about, well, let's just say tonight, the purpose of this podcast was to continue on without looking at all the opportunities available to us in this, at the bottom of the pyramid, in the caste system, in the enslaved
Interesting.
caste. Yeah.
Because we
So
actually all hooked up in Physico at the bottom of the pyramid.
that's true,
We did.
actually. That's
We
where
did.
we all physically met in person at the bottom of the actual pyramid in Bosnia. So yeah, so like one of the things that Campbell and I've been doing through this fast is we've been dealing with any trauma that we have had in our lives, all lives, especially relevant for me, all lives, and weighing us down in any single way. And combining that with obviously a water fast was really, because it's so like combining trauma with a toxicity cleanse. So we thought we would bring those two together and see where that left us. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to do that sort of work while we were doing such a massive toxicity cleanse. And yeah, this has been a really interesting journey. So one of the opportunities available to us at this level of the game is you can literally choose to heal yourself of all your shit. Like you can choose to do that because you have your freedom, because we're at the bottom of the pyramid. So this is an amazing thing and probably highly recommended in this sort of like time in human history to deal with your shit. So like, do you want to
Yeah,
introduce
definitely.
yourself? Yep, go.
I was going to
Campbell.
say, and we'll leave all Maggie's details below if anyone
Yeah.
wants to contact her, because this is what she does. And like Kelly said, we've both, well, I've only done 2 sessions, I think. Kelly's done multiple because
Like a million.
she's got multiple lives to deal with, right?
Fucking hell, man.
And it's not all been trauma, has it?
We'll
No.
explain the difference between Campbell and I as we go through this, because there is a significant difference. But you know, you guys like you'll be nearer where I am or nearer where Campbell is, or shitloads in the middle. Like it's just like you all sit in our own sort of you know, space when it comes to our trauma and what we picked up this lifetime, but what we've also carried from previous lifetimes, how many lifetimes, whatever that actually is. Like, let's start there, guys. Like, my personal view on, do we actually have lifetimes? Is there a linear past, present, and future? Are we in a simulation? Is it a construct? Have we just been infused with memories? Have we not? Are they real? Are they from this time? Are they out of realm? Like, what are past lives to both of you?
You, Campbell?
I don't know. I don't remember any. Yeah, I have no sort of memories of any kind of past lives. I had 2 people do readings. I think they're actually on this show, on me, and like they're both within a week, and they both told me that I'd never been here before. It was my first time, so that's interesting.
What a baby! What a baby!
I know, right? I'm just a newbie, man. That's why I have no trauma. So yeah, I don't know a lot of it. I know what past lives are, obviously, but I haven't had much. You know, I haven't dealt with them much or anything. Or yeah, so Maggie will make much more sense than me, clearly.
But do you believe in them, Campbell? Do you think they're real? Like, why do you think they are?
Yeah, no. I believe in multiple incarnations. Obviously, I believe that, you know, we're eternal, and after this we go somewhere else, and no doubt into another experience. And I do believe that you can bring trauma through lifetimes, and even, you know, ancestral trauma, things like this. I mean, I guess as far as I've really gone with it is I think that, you know, with the parents, you know, parent-child relationship, I think that whatever the parents don't heal in themselves, the children then have to heal. So I believe that, but it's not exactly past lives, but yeah, I do believe that, you know, obviously we get lessons, we learn things, and whatever we don't, you know, come to a conclusion in a certain life, probably folds over into the next life, so that we can continue to deal with it and hopefully get it done. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you said, Campbell. My first experience of the concept of past lives was, I was about 15 at school, and I went to a Catholic school, and I was indoctrinated with Catholicism all my life. I was already drifting away from all of that from the age of 12 onwards, when I was starting to question a lot of what I was being presented with, and I wasn't getting answers. And then we had this random day in RE, which is religious education for you guys, in case you call it something different.
I did
RE, yep.
Yeah. Where the teacher obviously was bored and didn't have anything to tell us, so put us in a room and set up a TV and showed us a video of children who could remember their most recent life and were describing in detail, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids who were remembering in detail their ex-wife or husband and their house in India or whatever it was. And somebody had made it their life's work to travel around the world and connect the dots and actually find the people who were still existing from that previous life. And it was just like a light bulb went off in my head. I think at that point, that was my full deviation from organized religion that suggests that there isn't any kind of past life thing. But I still didn't know what it was. I just knew that it resonated with me really deeply. And I thought there's got to be something in that, because I couldn't, not to make this about religion, but I couldn't understand why my own faith at the time was telling me you get one life, and if you're unlucky, then you're quadriplegic, right? There's your deck of cards. That's what you got.
Yeah.
You just have to deal with it, and you have to do your best. And other people are given all sorts of privileges, and that just seemed one of the things that made it seem really wrong for me. So it was a real connecting dots moment. And as time went on, I started to notice I had really strong leanings towards certain things or certain places. Like I was obsessed with Japan. Again, about the age of 15, I did a whole art project on the samurai. I made like a samurai helmet, random stuff for a girl of my age to be doing. I remember going to museums with my dad and looking at like weapons of war and torture and stuff, and not torture, but like holy water sprinklers and things like that. I'm just thinking,
holy water sprinklers.
But then later, meeting people who said to me that they could see that I'd had multiple past lives as a warrior in different ages, and that I'd swung from either the warrior paradigm into the priest or priestess or kind of religious order, and that goes all the way back through my family line as well. So it's ancestral as well as my soul's path. And really strong connection to the geisha culture as well. So I started to think, hang on a minute, I'm sure I've been in Japan before, and I've not been in this lifetime, but when I see YouTube videos of it, like people's podcasts and things like that, I'm just completely blown away by how familiar it feels. And then there are places that you're not drawn to at all, or places you have an aversion to. And like it started to make sense to me that if you'd had harmonious past lives or really happy ones, then you would feel a draw and a pull to go and explore those places again, even if you don't have an active memory like Kelly does, because I don't have active memories. But just like a strong knowing or feeling, I was this person, or I was that, or I was in this place, or when I was in that place, I had a horrible time. That's why I don't want to go back there. And then when I started studying the shamanic training, our teachers said that there isn't any definitive answer on what past lives are. And with Carl Jung, the idea was it's a collective psyche of consciousness that we're tipping into. So we could just be pulling a collective memory that's relevant because it's got some information for us that will help us decode where we are now. Or it could be that your soul has traveled through all those different incarnations and carried bits of information through. And like you said, Campbell, I think there is something in that. My personal belief is that we have experienced certain things, and that we step into this lifetime with amnesia, most of us, unless you're Kelly, and some other people I know who have vivid.
It fucks you up, by the way. Not having amnesia is it's expensive, you got to do a lot of work on it. Yeah, just saying.
Extra trauma work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a gift in other ways, right? I think a lot of us want it and then see other people who have it and think maybe that's a lot to carry. But if we don't remember, I think we just reenact the same patterns over and over again from the unresolved stuff from the past life until we get to a point where we're so sick of the story that we seek help to try and fix it, that pattern, and stop it, rewrite it. So yeah, that's my thought. Like I couldn't say definitively that they are or not, but I think they are.
Well, it makes sense. Yeah. And it's
the whole Christian thing's a bit weird. Like I'm the same. Like that was what's one of the things that started questioning me. One life. And it's like, oh well, if you're born, in the middle of the Amazon and you never hear about God ever, like then what they'd say that basically, oh, you go to the pearly gates and they give you one more chance. So you don't know anything, and you're suddenly somewhere and they're like, well, I'm God, believe in me, and that's your only, ever contact, and otherwise you burn in hell, right?
Yeah.
So yes, and tough luck if you didn't get the privilege, right?
Yeah, it's shocking.
Actually, I received a very strong teaching on that very topic, you guys, and you know what the answer was? It was yes, of course there was past lives, but Jesus just wanted everyone to hurry the fuck up. Like he just took it out of the equation so people would actually take the lifetime seriously and actually do what they needed to do this lifetime. That's the teaching I received on it. Yeah.
And I don't really disagree with that either, because I think the most important life is the one we're living now. And anything we remember or anything that comes through from the past life information is useful only in terms of us being able to fix it in the now, right?
Yep.
So yeah, focus on now. Don't get lost in all this exciting exploration of your past life stuff, because you're here today and that's where you're meant to be. But it can help. And I do regression work, which we haven't done yet, Kelly, but you don't need to, you know it all. But I've done
I
regression
don't know it all.
before.
I definitely don't know it
Well,
all.
you know all your own experiences, or at least a lot of them, don't you? You don't need help remembering that, is what I'm saying.
All right, yeah. So look, so we agree that past lives are definitely a thing, and I agree. I've read countless books, watched countless documentaries of people remembering in very obscure ways who they were in previous lifetimes, driving their current parents crazy, not contrasting their current mum to their other mum who they liked more, and just also my Dr. Newton's work with Journey of Souls and his whole process of interviewing, hypnotizing people and taking them back through the past. And so there's been a lot of evidence in my life. And yes, as Maggie said, I recall a lot of past life memories, and it has been it's made my mind expansive. I can hold lots of concepts all at once. Campbell and I can have gigantic conversations about massive concepts. But at the same time, because of those memories, I've struggled with a few elements. And one of those elements, one of the elements for me is like trauma about obliteration. So basically apocalyptic trauma. I've literally remembered going through it right to the very furthest first memory I have of my very first incarnation, and it was like right smack into a total obliteration process, which has continued throughout most of my past life memories. So that was one. So when Cambell, by the way, I haven't told you this, but Cambell almost blew himself up like 2 weeks ago. Maggie knows, and I had to do trauma counseling on it because it freaked the fuck out of me, and like really did bring up a lot of tension on the topic of explosions and annihilation and the death of people I love in that way. Like it did rock me. Like I fully thought he is dead, and it rocked me bad, and I've got that trauma, and it's carried on countless lifetimes for me. So that's one thing. And then go Maggie, you want commentary?
Well, and don't you think that it's good timing? Not that obviously we never wish for that to happen, but the timing of that happening when you'd already booked a trauma clearing session,
well, yes,
to then trigger all those memories of how important those events were in the past.
See what I do for you, Kelly?
No,
right? The sacrifices he made.
Oh, Jesus, you
do for love, right?
I could happily have done the counselling without Cambell almost blowing himself up.
I know, but to make sense of these events, sometimes the timing feels very important, doesn't it?
Yes,
if it's
right.
triggering
Well, it did. It still agitates me, the concept. I don't want him to turn on anything. I don't want him to connect his solar. I don't want his batteries running. I don't want his diesel heating running. I'm just like,
don't touch anything, Campbell.
That's what you sit here in the dark and
candlelight for you, buddy. Candlelight.
Don't breathe.
No gases. Nothing. Nothing that can spark.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty interesting night because. Yeah, I'm still not really sure what happened, but yeah.
See, that freaks me out.
A bin was on fire when I saw it, and I went to move the bin, and as I did, it exploded because it was one of those little gas canisters that you use in the little stoves, and I think there were 5 or 6 in there, and so all these explosions kept going off, and I'm running through there, and there's fire spreading, and there's big petrol tanks next to it, and it felt like I was in a movie scene, man. It was very cool, but obviously.
Whatever. So anyway, for me, basically everyone I've ever loved has died in this way. And it's been worldwide events. It's been me collapsing whole cultures. And I take it on. Like I take it on because from the memories that I have, a lot of that time, I was the one that was left standing there watching it play out, or I was the one that had to pull the trigger, or I've taken a lot of what's the word, not responsibility, but I've really
responsibility,
stressed out
sense
about
of
it.
duty. Yeah.
And so that was the first thing, and the second one for me is comparison. Big problem there. So you don't have this, Campbell. You don't compare your
comparison.
Yeah. So for me personally, I've seen myself do like basically I can tell you guys this is literally the smallest motherfucking lifetime we've ever had. We are having the smallest version of ourselves. We are literally the smallest version of ourselves, literally, like literally in the size of our bodies, physically. The earth itself, like the way we live, everything about our lifestyle, everything feels like the smallest version of it is the smallest version of all my memories. That's a fact. So that tells you a lot that we're on the brink of that changing again because we have literally shrunk to the smallest version. Something's flickering around me.
Definitely feels like that. It feels a bit small and constrictive in this reality.
It is.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Comparatively, fuck yeah.
So much restriction. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't have any of those thoughts, which is maybe why I don't have any much trauma. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
and if this was your first go here, Campbell, maybe that's why you don't have any trauma. Maybe this is where you gather it.
Whatever I had, you've wiped out. I mean, the last 4 years of my life, I've had, quite a bit of trauma. But it's not like I hold it in as, like after my car accident, like I said, I wasn't scared of cars or anything. I don't sort of hold on to it, which is interesting. I just sort of keep going forward, right? The future is much more interesting than the past, right?
Yeah, it's like you've got a self-cleaning mechanism going on there, maybe, but it just doesn't stick.
No.
Maybe that's some good karma from somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, what just as one concept, what do you guys think of? And when I say instant recognition, when you see someone for the very first time, but it feels like you've known them forever, and you don't have that experience with every person you meet, how do you explain that? If you don't have then the background or the framework of
if there is no past lives,
what's that?
Well, I would say it's a frequency thing. You're on the same kind of frequency. You're recognizing a frequency. I don't know if I've ever really had that either. I mean,
I've had it.
Nothing that stands out. I've never really sort of met anyone like, oh my God, they're so familiar and this and this. I've never had that.
I've had it so many times. But then I think I've had many lifetimes here, so that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, soul kin, I would put them as soul family. Yeah. I do believe that we kind of repeat lifetimes with the same crew. I think we've literally kind of however our incarnations are made manifest, however the creator creates us, wherever we are, that soul, I think that soul group is a group. They're the souls that occur at the same time as your birth. There's a group birthed basically, and you go through. Agreed. Yeah, because even though, like, I know Campbell, you were like, oh my God, I've known you forever. But like when I met Campbell, it's not that I recognized him physically, but I definitely energetically recognized him. Like energetically, I was like, no, this guy is very familiar to me. He's very familiar. And like all the way through the last couple of years, like we click in. So I'm
naturally.
It's a natural familiar family brotherhood loyalty. Like there's just there's a kin there. There's a kin. Campbell and I would never be estranged from that. We once you find people who are your kin, you found them for that lifetime. Precious. Yeah.
So do you, Kelly, do you have an active memory of Campbell from another realm? If he was never here?
I've never tuned into that, actually. He's never played present in any of my previous memories, independent of me even tuning in, but I will endeavor to tune in to that, Campbell. Yes, I will do that. I will do that. I will report back.
Do that. Thank you.
You can answer the question once and for all.
Yeah. I mean, like, if for me, I definitely move around this realm, like making an effort to collect my masterful counsel, the ones that I have known previously, that have known me previously, the ones that I know there's no work required to get to the heart of the matter. Like there's no effort or
there's no karma, no messy karma.
You don't have to do much to like sit there and know this person is going to be a wise counsel in your life because they've known you before now. you know. So
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
make an effort. I always say, you know, I like to collect masters. Like that's like as my counsel around me, you know. And I like the people around me in that level, they're very broad, very different human beings from very different spectrums and backgrounds, you know. It's not the same. They're not the
Mm.
same people.
No, but
But
they're
there's
all
an
very
essence there that's
similar
similar.
in mindset and attitude. You know, I've met, you know, many of your friends, and they're all, you know, same thing. I can sit and have long conversations with them from the time I meet them, kind of thing. They're all on our level, if you want to put it
Yeah.
that way. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one would assume that your kin, your soul group, are evolving their frequency at the same level as you at all times. I would
Yeah,
assume. Would you agree,
yeah.
Maggie, with that?
I think so. I think you get waves of learning, I guess, is one
Yeah,
way of putting it.
yeah,
Because I see that with my soul group, that we all get hit by the same sort of lessons or the same sort of issues at the same time. And of course, that would make sense because you're then coming together to help each other work through it all and
yeah,
understand it all. And you're leveling up together as
yeah,
well, or
yeah,
sliding down together, whichever way you want to look at it. But at
yeah.
least you're in solidarity and brotherhood with each other. So
You're
it
going to
helps.
sneak some ladders.
Yeah. I remember first seeing you, Kelly, on one of JC's shows, and there was just again that feeling which I've become so familiar with of I recognize her. Like, how do I know her? And I've got used to seeing that and then thinking, well, that's probably someone who's going to be significant in my life later.
Yeah,
And it's always the case. So
yeah.
I just accept it. I don't necessarily have to know how I know the person or how I'm going to get to know them, but it's just there.
Well, I mean, like, and that's just another one of the great opportunities of being at the bottom of the pyramid, isn't it? Like, we actually do have this natural soul family that does rotate around us. We are able to form very deep and very honorable friendships, which we're going to do on the next podcast. We're going to talk about friendship, and what that looks like and means, the gravity of it. Because I don't think we really ever talk about the true gravity of friendship. But yeah, we have this opportunity to work through and know that we've had past lives. Like, you know, as we go up that pyramid, I mean, does those situations, do they get wiped out? Or that, you know, can you not use your intuition? Can you not use your instincts? Like, how fucked up do you get in your natural abilities as you move up that pyramid, you know? What do you guys think? Do you think you get more fucked up? Do you think you get more out of alignment, more out of tune with yourself, further
I mean,
away from
I'd like to feel that the more you ascend in terms of your evolution, the more in contact you get with your
I'm
divine.
talking about the pyramid
Oh,
structure of our reality.
of
Sorry.
Earth, right? Okay.
Levels. So do
Well,
we?
you've got some powerful.
No, so I was just going to say, you're saying, do we move up the pyramid?
No, I'm saying that as you go up the pyramid out of this level we're at, the caste system enslaved level, if you go up the pyramid, you would I would say, move away from your natural intuition, away from your instincts, away from your ability to be closer to soul group. I mean, I'm just guessing. Maybe, maybe not.
No, if you go up the pyramid, up levels, you get further away from everything good and ethical because you start to go into the dark realm, especially, you know, in the epoch that we live in. And who knows what it's like in a positive epoch. But at the moment, the spiritual growth is where we are. That's where the best, you know, growth is, where the best friendships are, the best, all this kind of stuff. Yep. And as you go up, you're literally stripping that from yourself, and each level you just become less and less of who you are rather than becoming more of it.
Well, you're giving away your soul, aren't you, in order to gain favor and privilege within that pyramid, and then you're having to rely on, for want of a better way of putting it, the dark forces, because there's, you know, the people at the top are black magicians, aren't they? And they're calling in all sorts of forces to help them be creative or to help them achieve their aims, whereas we are pretty much sovereign individuals just working with each other in the dark, stabbing around, but trying to rely on divine intuition and what's available to us, not calling in forces that we have to make pacts with and lose parts of ourselves to. So I guess at the tippy top, there's a group of people who are all, I guess, a soul group of some kind, but they've all made so much sacrifice of their souls to get to where they've got to. They have to rely on so much external to get by. So, yeah.
And they're actually going down when they think they're going up. You know, because everything's inverted, right? Like we're actually at the top, right?
Exactly.
You know?
Where we thought we were at the bottom. All right,
Totally.
so opportunities, Max. So the whole point of this podcast is to talk about current opportunities available to all of us here in our community today. So talk to me about the opportunity of trauma clearing. Let's define what that is. Explain that.
Yeah, so I guess it starts with defining the term trauma, which is a word that we hear used a lot in this day and age, which I think still confuses the hell out of people, because most people would hear the word trauma and think, oh, that's something really massive that happens to other people. That's not me. And not see that there are smaller traumas in their own lives that have had a big impact that still affect them today and still affect their nervous system and how they process information and the decisions they make and their habits, behaviors, and all that sort of stuff. And it can apply to the major catastrophic events that happen to us, but also the smaller wounds that we accumulate throughout our lives that have a detrimental cumulative effect on our health. So, for example, a small child loses a guinea pig, and as their adult self, they might look back at that and think, well, that was nothing. And other people might look at it and think, oh, it's just, it's a small event. But there's a part of them still arrested in that 5-year-old self that was traumatized by losing their best mate and experiencing death for the first time in this reality. And I feel like our nervous system keeps the count of all of these things that happen to us and starts to develop holding patterns and stories and narratives and all sorts of things around those formative events. And the more we accumulate of those, the greater we dissociate from ourselves and our bodies. And I feel like even so, Kelly and I, we were talking, weren't we, about trauma and then toxicity and how these seem to be the two major ways that we're kept out of our power. So we're given all this trauma and then we're bombarded with all this toxicity externally, internally, with what we ingest. And I would even say now that I think that toxicity is trauma. The exposure to toxicity is a kind of trauma on our bodies. So everything that we experience that's detrimental to us is trauma, and all of it has this cumulative effect of making us want to step out of our bodies and get away, escape from humanity, escape from our bodies, from reality as much as we can. So many of us develop coping mechanisms as adults with all this accumulated pain to escape the pain. And that will be things like substance abuse and food abuse and overworking or, over-exercising. There are so many different things, aren't there, that we do as displacement activities to get out of our bodies where the pain is. And if you think about it, that would suggest that your greatest empowerment lies in getting fully back in your body and being fully present with your body and clearing out anything in your body, whether that's physical toxicity or whether it's a non-physical trauma that's making you want to escape. Yeah. So do a cleanup job, do a reset, clear out as much as you can with all the tools available to you, and then you can step fully back into your body and you can then become a powerful agent for change again, instead of feeling hopeless and helpless and a victim of circumstances. This isn't a victim, trauma to me, talking about trauma, it's not making people victims and it's not creating victim stories. It's about how do we re-empower ourselves and reset everything back to our factory settings, our original default settings, so that we can become the powerful agents for change that we came here to be. The co-creators, and make use of all of our innate skills and gifts that otherwise we can't access unless we're fully embodied. And, I just think about my own traumas and how they had me out of my body all my life. And everybody else I know, to some extent or another, is finding ways to lean out because life is painful and because that pain stays in the body until we address it and find a tool or a system to get it out. So, I think there's huge opportunities for us to recognize that we actually do have the power to go in with physical tools to get rid of physical parasites, for example, that have come about through maybe junk food addictions or alcohol abuse or whatever the thing is that's created just those physical.
Just being alive on planet Earth.
Just being bombarded with that crap everywhere, even if you live the purest life and make the purest choices, that you can't avoid in this toxic realm, that environmentally you're going to be hit by that stuff too. So address the physical toxins, parasites, issues that you've got, but also acknowledge that there's a marriage between that and the non-physical. And, that macrocosm, microcosm, as above, so below, that there's this parallel between what's happening to us physically and what's happening to us non-physically. And you can address both with the right tools and the right support.
Yeah.
And I really admire the fact that both of you took it on the chin and said, right, we're going to do 3 weeks of a water fast. And at the same time, we're going to clear all of our remembered traumas. Yeah. Let's just do it all,
Heck yeah.
And it's massive. It's admirable. But also what a great thing to do for yourself, to draw a line at this point in your life and say, I'm done with that. That's not going to rule my decisions anymore. I'm not going to be driven unconsciously by my wounds anymore, whether they're physical or not. I'm going to clean them up and then I'm in charge and I'm driving and I get to choose where I go with my life, and I'm not being, my actions and my choices aren't being fed by this background trauma that I haven't quite identified, that I think is just me. Like, if I speak for myself, I thought that my biggest trauma was my dad dying at 18, because it definitely was like an initiation for me, and it completely changed my life. And it put me on the path that I'm on now with natural healing. But I didn't know that there was childhood trauma that I buried that came up in 2021. And that, when I remembered that, was obviously really traumatic for me, and I had to have help. So I discovered this guy, David Ian Rogers, who's a brilliant healer. I saw him actually on one of the Mark Atwood shows years ago. And I just had that feeling of, this guy's going to help me. And I reached out to him. He did his process on me. We cleared the trauma of what I could remember of this lifetime, including what had come up for me in childhood. And he then taught me his technique. So it's this technique that I've worked with you guys, and that I continue to work with people. And I love it. It's very silly, but it's great fun. And what I love about it is that you're not signing yourself up for 15 years of really expensive talk therapy, or some of the other ways that can take forever. This is one session, and you blast through it, and maybe it will trip into 2 or 3 sessions, but for most people that's it, they're done. And then it's just personal homework to rewire and to replace all the old patterns that you can now recognize and see that were attached to the energy that you've now removed, with new ones that honor and support and sustain you. So in my case, I had all sorts of patterns that were trauma-based that I didn't realize. I thought they were just me. I was staying up until 3 o'clock in the night every night, making myself sick, trying to get up in the morning the next day, really affecting my nervous system, circadian rhythms all over the place, hormones all over the place, overextending myself, people-pleasing, eating junk food all my life because that was one of my ways of numbing out, smoking, drinking, all sorts, and all of this was an effort to get as far away from my body as possible. And all of that finally made sense in the context of the childhood trauma that I eventually remembered, because then it was like, oh my God, of course you'd want to escape your body if things like that happen to you, and healing it meant that I was able to then make peace with my body again, get back into my body again. And I've become able to do things that, like, I've been able to rewire all of my patterns and behaviors so they support me now. And things like, for example, the speaking, I couldn't have done this 3 years ago. I could not have shown up on your show and spoken like this. And of course, there's still a bit of trepidation. Hey, Sherlock.
Sherlock.
Oh, Sherlock.
There's still a bit of trepidation around it, but nothing like compared to what it was prior to 3 years ago when I did this trauma work on myself. It's like you clear it, and then you become able to make the steps and the changes that you could not have possibly made before, because trauma was holding you back and restricting you in a way you couldn't see. So it's an ongoing process, but at least the catalyst happens when you have this session, and then you can start to make change. So yeah, I'm seeing beautiful things happen with other people I'm working this process with as well, which I'm happy to talk about. But yeah, and either of you want to add to that?
Jeez, you said you're scared of talking, and look at you go.
I can't stop now, can I?
Nah, yeah.
But yeah, I think we need to cast out the demons from inside and outside, right? Like the parasites, the demons, right? Is that what Jesus meant by casting out demons? And then obviously the outside ones, we've got parasites inside, we're ruled by parasites, all this stuff. But I think with me, I think we can have trauma at a conscious level or a subconscious level. And I think the subconscious is when you get into habits and routines and, addictions and all this kind of stuff, and you're not really sure why you can't get past marks and all that kind of stuff, which is different to people who have it consciously, where I think it's much, it sort of affects them a lot more because it's in their present life a lot more, right? Where with me, I don't have it consciously, but clearly I had stuff to clear and to deal with, which I think we do. And that's all these patterns, and you see it all the time. People, are trying to achieve certain things or be a certain way, and they just can't get there, and then they just go through these circles and go round and round and round.
All of us, every single person alive goes round and round and round on certain topics. Fucking for sure.
Yeah, and that, I think that looping is created by trauma, whether you remember it or not. It's trauma based. Hello, beautiful.
Oh my God, get down. Get down. Not the time to play, dude. We're working here. I'm turning the camera. I'm moving it off him.
He wants to be a star.
Okay, Sherlock.
So gorgeous.
That's the name.
What is he
He's like,
doing?
I should be on telly. Look at this.
Hello,
name.
handsome.
Hey, what are you doing?
Sherlock.
See, this is good for your gut biome. getting kissed by dogs. It's good for your gut.
Definitely.
Just don't eat their poo, right?
But yeah, I mean, Kelly, you've been doing a parasite cleanse, haven't you, on your gut?
I
And
did.
I feel, oh, you were talking, weren't we, about how they influence our thoughts and feelings?
Oh yeah, fuck. Most people would compare them to demons. Most people
Right.
would, who look into parasites, will finally align it with all sorts of comparisons and metaphors from every religion, all sorts of ancient books, that parasites are demons. And that's where we've got the concept of demons from. And these things that come in and they influence your whole, body. They can take over your thinking. They really hyper affect your emotional scale. And pretty much our whole diets and our whole world and everything about this lifetime is geared towards catering for parasites. Like our guts are like a breeding ground for them now because of the food that's available. Like they're in the food. I don't know if you've seen all the revolting microscopic clips of all the food that's going. It's all disgusting. They're full of parasites. And and even the look of parasites could be comparative to the way that we've like drawn up and done artistic
And describe
drawings of
demons.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So they're
that's
like the micro version of demons, aren't they?
definitely.
And when David developed this technique, he was saying that he was taught, but because he was working with Tibetan monks and shamans in the Andes, and they were giving him all these different bits of the jigsaw puzzle to develop this process. And he said, demons, in terms of etheric demons or entities that feed off us, can only feed off us if there's a trauma wound.
Yep.
So his whole process is about clearing up the trauma wound, so you're no longer a feeding ground for those energies. They can't feed off you and they can't influence you if there's nothing to hook into.
That's
because
right.
your energy field gets weaker the more and more trauma, and the more soul parts you lose due to trauma.
What are you doing?
Yes. So heal it, patch yourself up, do the soul retrieval that you need to do, and then you become this kind of bulletproof sovereign entity that nothing can attach to, nothing can feed off. And if you're doing the same with your body in terms of your gut, then you are bulletproof, aren't you, on every level?
Yeah, I mean, and what an amazing opportunity for today. Like, if ever there was a time, people, if ever there was a time, this is the time. Like, it's a good time. It's a good time to do this. Like, literally, we're coming into the era of the healer. The healers are going to be dramatically evolving very quickly. They are very influenced by the energetics of this realm, and this realm is going through a massive shift. Our healers out there in the world are going to be called on more and more and more and more as our little level of the game, first of all, starts to acknowledge that to deal with this lifetime in the most powerful way possible, to contrast it against the disempowerment of everything we've learned, and to finally swing back and say, no, all right, excellent. I'm now going to move into my most powerful being, because I think that is the end result of being utterly disempowered by the reality of our earth. Like everything about it is utterly disempowering. And once you've figured it out, I don't know why Sherlock's so excited tonight, but I just keep the more I shove him away, the more he's going to come. So we just have to pretend I just turned the camera off him. He said like a Hollywood superstar tonight. Maybe he wants. I'm going to go let him outside. That's what we'll do. I think that may be what's going on here. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, what I was saying is like the disempowerment of our lifetimes, this lifetime has had a very comparative effect. Yep, off he goes. See you, mate. Australian. See you, mate. See you, mate. So Aussie. All right. Now we could destroyed everything. Sit down. All right. So we've got this wonderful opportunity now to actually move from utter disempowerment to total empowerment. So what that has looked like for us, Cambell and I, we've been going through, we started working through all the dietary things. We started to work through our bodies. And the last year we've been doing a lot of that and talking about it. And then we got onto the parasite issue. And that's become more and more and more a problem for everyone because of all this, all these infections that are going around, all these chest infections, the mucus, all of this COVID-y, whatever it is, that's hit the whole world, so a lot of people have got these weird things that they never had before. And so much of that could be parasitic. Probably all of that is parasitic, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you get lung parasites, right? There's no reason why it couldn't be.
Well, I know all about it. I'll tell you a gross story. Oh my God. So I was, everyone knows that I've had a really tough cough that just hasn't gone away. Like since before our last Melbourne show. So at least the last 2 years almost. But in the last year, and then in Bosnia, it happened again. Like I just got this full-on chesty friggin' motherfucking mucusy cough that a lot of people around the world are suffering from. Yeah. And it like it's such a cough that you sort of like you feel like you're coughing from your stomach, you know. Anyway, one day about, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, Campbell, I don't know,
Yeah, something like that.
I literally coughed up a worm. How gross is that? There, I've said it. I've just grossed the whole world out. It's true though. That's what actually happened. I literally crossed. Now I don't know if it's because I like it was, maybe it was in my intestine and came up as I was having these, you know, coughing attacks. I don't know. Could have been in my lungs. I don't know. Point was, that's fucking insane and very disturbing. And I was like, oh my God. And then everyone I told, they were like, oh my God, that's like the most disturbing thing. And I was like, yeah, we're just a big bag of worms and parasites, man. This is what we really are. This is how we made. We're walking around. And I was like, oh.
But that
So then,
put you firmly on the parasite track, didn't it? And then
yeah.
you've done a parasite cleanse because of that.
Yeah, and I don't know, like this like cough that's been going around the world that's affecting everyone, you know, that's, you know, is that a parasitic situation? Like we don't know we don't know the extent of the evil that's been surrounding and attacking our health for so long now, but in the last 4 years so badly. So the only way that I knew how to deal with that was through doing a massive parasitic cleanse, which took 3 weeks. And I just went to the naturopath and got a bottle of herbs, you know, like wormwood and all those sorts of, you know, bitter herbs. It fucked my fast up though, because it like doing that annihilated my gut biome before I even started the fast. So within 6 days of the fast, I was getting this like acidic experience that was not comfortable. So, you know, I don't know. So Campbell and I are now in the process of building back our little Garden of Eden and like starting to put the layers in and starting to like get that gut biome like as thriving and as healthy as possible. And
will you be doing probiotics?
Well, I don't think probiotics. I think we Tui, my partner's bought a like a yogurt machine, this hardcore $500 fucking disgusting yogurt machine that literally ferments this like sour. It's meant to be like the best possible probiotic you could possibly have in the whole wide world.
I just hope we get some nice edible yogurt from it at some point.
And then like clove tea is meant to be fantastic, and like fermented things and all these things as we move up the train. Actually, I'm sorry to say this right now, but you know, I just had that pumpkin soup and we've just come off the fast and now I need to go to the toilet. So speak amongst yourself, people.
Call of nature.
Yeah, like I want to know what you guys think is like the benefits of taking up this sort of opportunity today for each one of our audience who's listening to this. You know, what do you do?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've done 2 parasite cleanses this year. I did those in America with Anara, and we did them both on full moons. Apparently, the full moons is when they're most active as well.
Yeah.
I think, it's. I mean, like Kelly said, everything food-wise seems to be to get our bodies ready for parasites, right? And then at the end, they give us the parasites in the food. And parasites can literally control your mind. I think that most addictions are caused by parasites. You know, especially
only food addictions.
Yeah, especially like sugar and wheat and all this stuff. It's a definite parasite. So you know, I think everyone needs to do one, especially at this point. You know, it's a very toxic realm at the moment, and they're going for us, and it just gets rid of. I mean, I feel good now. Like, you know, I've done a couple. I've just done another. You know, the water fast obviously also starves them of food, and they start dying and get eaten up. So I guess that's my third, and yeah, it does, you know, it clears your mind a bit. It makes you feel, you know, stronger and a bit more empowered, and I think it's something we all need to do. You know, we all sort of always talk about this, you know, slave mentality, you know, we slaves and we hate controllers and all this kind of stuff. But
that's to give our power away, isn't it?
It is.
And to suggest that we don't have any control.
Exactly, when really that's all we do have.
Right.
But filling us with parasites helps their agenda to take our power away, right? It makes us weaker.
Of course. That's
No,
it. It weakens us.
it
So it's, you know,
weakens
the
us. Yeah.
parasites are weakening the physical body, and
Mm,
then the etheric parasites are weakening the energy body. So
exactly.
we're being hit
Multi-pronged
with,
attack.
right. And that could sound really depressing unless you accept that there are tools available to you to address those things and heal those things and get back in control and get your power
Mm,
back. So
yeah.
that is really the opportunity available to us, isn't it? We all have information in this information age. There's so much information available to us about how we can heal our guts, how we can
Yep.
rid ourselves of things like a candida overgrowth that's going to be driving a sweet addiction, for example. Those
Mm,
things are going to be weakening us on the physical, making us depressed, putting us in pain, giving us disease like diabetes, etc. You know, you clean up your diet, you clean up your gut, and then physically you're about as strong as you can get because health starts in the gut, doesn't it?
mm,
So for me, the same applies on the non-physical. And you can get really caught up and worried about the idea of demons or entities. I don't put any fear towards those energies now because I just see them as it's like a tapeworm, you know.
yeah.
It's pointing to an underlying wound. So say you've got a tapeworm because you ate junk, then the tapeworm is basically just there to tell you you have a habit that's creating a wound. You have to address the habit, clean up the wound, and then I can go and I won't come back. And I see it the same way with your etheric parasites, whether you want to call them demons, whatever type of entity you want to call it. Those negative etheric parasites that attach to our energy field when it's weakened through trauma or whatever are just there to point out there's a trauma wound. So now I kind of see them as helpful. It's an odd way of looking at it, but it definitely takes the fear out of that concept for me to look at them as a helpful pointer that there's an underlying wound that if I get the right help, I can address that, and then they can bugger off and leave me alone.
Yeah, totally
So
agree.
it's again that microcosm, macrocosm thing,
Mm,
being weakened on those levels so that we won't be powerful and won't be able to create change. Well, let's just take the power back, heal ourselves.
totally. Especially with the external physical parasite people, they're
Yeah,
also just here to try and hold us down so that we find our true power and stand
right.
up and start, living as we should and living our full potential. So
Which I
I
think is the
agree. I
game,
think,
right?
yeah, everything's an opportunity. Everything I think is for us, for
Yeah, to
sure.
grow and to expand and to connect with deeper levels of what we already are,
Mm,
and to repair ourselves.
yeah, which is interesting. I guess if you put it as to the pyramid and the caste system, it means everything on top of us, all the parasites, they're actually there to help us, right?
That's where I've arrived at, and
Yeah.
it's a bit of a deep one, and
It
not
is.
everyone's on that page, and I get that, but that's where I've arrived at now. Almost while we were talking earlier, I was almost shown again that this is kind of, and I know this isn't new, but this is kind of a computer game where we have to go and find these parts of ourselves and put them back together, and we have to find these remedies and take them and fight the demons, and but it's all part of the process, isn't it? Of coming back to ourselves and
Hmm.
remembering who we are. And
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't be the
if it
hero who
wasn't for those
slays the dragon,
adversaries, what
right?
would we have? Sorry,
You can't be the hero who slays the dragon if there's no dragon,
right.
So yeah, I think it's all for us, and that's one thing is the people above us, they don't get that chance, right? They have to be, I mean, they must be literally just bags of worms, right? And parasites, and etheric
Etheric
parasites,
parasites.
and yeah, all of
Yeah,
them, man. And
yeah.
they they have to hold on to them. They have to keep them for their whole lives, right? So they act like these
Because that's
evil,
all they are.
disgusting people because that's all they are, man. They just control, and that's why they're more controlled. Another reason why they're more controlled than us.
Yeah.
That they can't go and get some, turpentine gum and have that and
Well, because that'd be the end of them, wouldn't it?
yeah, what would be left?
That'd be
Just
their
a skin
kryptonite.
suit. Yeah, no, totally. So again, that's another opportunity of where we are, like, and like I said before, I don't think that we're the bottom of the pyramid. I think we're the top, but as
Yeah.
as the bottom layer, they would call us,
It's
and
all
the biggest
perspective, isn't it?
player. Yeah, it is. Yeah. But that's another big opportunity. Is we get to look at ourselves, we get to deal with our traumas, we get to clear it all out, and especially if we're adding in past lives and multiple lives, then we get to clear that all right and
Yeah. And then
basically
there's
ascend on
generational
our
trauma, isn't there? Like you were
yeah, all
saying, and
that.
you've accumulated down the family line a certain wound. And then I see our generation, or, above and below us, almost like the bloodline cleansers. I don't know what term you want to give to that, but we're the ones who came in ready to heal the generational wounds. This feels like the time in human evolution where we're able to address that. and not just for ourselves, but going back through our family lines. So it's a lot to carry, but also what a great big job to do. And you know, what a job to sign up for.
The whole parasite conversation isn't that old. It's still fairly new, really, right? You know, so we are here at a time, you know, when we're all being given this opportunity to clear and cleanse, you know, which is pretty cool, right? So yeah, I believe that we're all here at this time. I think we probably chose to be here at this time to do certain things, but ultimately that's all, to me, part of this rising in, whatever you want to call it, right? Consciousness, vibration, you know, creating this new earth that we all want. I think that this is all part of it. And, you know, obviously a lot of people think that this is the worst time in history and we're all going down. Oh my God, we're so repressed and all that. But
again, that's perspective, isn't it? Is it the worst time in history, or is it the best?
Exactly. It's
depends
the
on how you
biggest
choose
opportunity.
to tackle it, right?
Well, I can tell you that we have been through worse than this right now. Except this is a mental one. It's usually worse physically, but we're in a mental head fuck this lifetime.
Yeah, but we get to overcome it. The people above us don't. So, and is that the new earth? Is it just people who are empowered, right, and in control of their thoughts and their physical body and all this stuff? You know, no parasites in, no parasites out. And I think that's where we're going. I don't see a bad future. You know, obviously the parasites are trying to tell us that, but that's just fear, right? That's another thing that parasites love is fear and hiding.
And generate. Parasites generate fear.
Yeah, that generate and regenerate and all this kind of stuff. So again, that's the opportunity of being in our caste system, right? And in our layer is we get to clear it all, which means we get to evolve on a bigger level, right? Spiritually for the next life, all this kind of stuff. And they don't.
Yeah. And move beyond, as we were saying, like the generational trauma. If our generation are clearing that up for our ancestral lines, which I perceive us to be doing with the work I'm doing,
I definitely think we're doing that. Yeah,
brave souls coming in now saying, I'm going to take the whole lot. The last 3,000, however many years, I'm going to do it. Then it is a reset, isn't it? We're not just doing a personal reset. All of our kind, all of our soul group around the world are doing this at the moment. They're addressing their bodies and they're addressing their trauma, both personal and generational and past life. It's an epic reset, and it makes me wonder what's coming next. Why are we all feeling that drive to do this right now? There's something big coming.
It's because there's something good coming. You know, I often say, you know, when we want something better, you know, the universe starts throwing things at you, right? It wants to make sure you're serious.
Yeah.
But then also the reason we don't have what we want is because we're not, you know, worthy of it yet. You know, it's like the story, if you get a poor person, give them $1 million, in 6 months, they won't have it, right? Because they're not a millionaire in their mind, or, you know, whatever.
Haven't learned the lesson around the energy of money.
Yeah. So I think, gosh, I forgot what I was talking about then. But yeah, I just think it's a big opportunity for us. We're getting ready because we have to be ready, right? If we're going to enter a better realm. We can't go in there full of parasites, full of fear, full of attachments. That's all got to go before we can.
It's a frequency thing again, isn't it? We've got to be a frequency match for where we're going to.
Exactly, 100%.
And also all of that would like create holes in your energetic field. So whatever we're about to go through vibrationally, whatever event is going to occur to move that through, like that, if those holes are there, I can perceive that would be more painful. Like I feel like
vulnerable.
Yeah, more vulnerable. Like to clear it up now is like getting your armor good. It's like getting your energetic body strong and healthy and expanded, and where you command
to be your best self.
Yes, and you command a great area around you within your field. You know, when Maggie and I do work, and she takes you through the visualization of putting this light around you and this energy around you, like mine goes fucking huge, like massive, like right around me, then the house and the property, then the whole of Australia, and then boom, we're out there, man. And like, I've always remembered a story. It was a teaching from sometime, and they were talking about the masters, the masters that would disappear into the forest and no one would fucking know they were there. Like no one knew they were masters. They'd like just disappear into the forest, and their energy fields were so big, like 10 Ks worth of energy. So if you walked within a 10K radius of these masters, you knew you were in their energy field. You knew you were embodied by their field. You know, you could feel it was very tangible. So I love that. And to me, that's very influential. You know, imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine.
Well, that's our potential, isn't it? And that's the
Exactly.
opposite of having our energy field weakened to the point where we just don't even want to be here anymore. You know,
Exactly.
we're out.
Yeah.
We're checked out completely. And that's
I
the
love
polar
it.
opposite, is being fully embodied, and then fully your whole spirit is in your body and it's expanding. It's
Exactly. And
that's what we're aiming for, isn't it?
oh, imagine if
Totally.
everywhere we
Then.
worked, everywhere we walked within a 10K radius around us, everyone in that radius felt
Touched
nothing
by
but
your light.
love and compassion and nobility and honor and just this high standing, high quality human beingness. And it influenced them and it brought it out in them. Well, they're in your radio. I love that idea. That
I
idea
love that.
inspires me immensely, that every little creature, every animal, every insect, every bug within 10 Ks of me would feel nothing but like loved and safe and sound. I love
And
that.
it's lifted by your light.
Yes. And that to me is personal
Beautiful.
power, right? That's
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
that's what I'm aiming for. I
That's what
want
it is.
that. Yes. Yes.
And what motivation is that as a concept to reach
Yes.
towards and to help you, to support you to do the work? You
Oh,
know?
just imagine if
Potential,
every child that stood in your radar like felt nothing but safe and sound. Like
Yeah.
imagine that. Imagine being anywhere
think
near
that-
a school and every child just for no reason suddenly felt the
Bing.
energetic of being safe and sound.
Yeah.
I just think to
Gorgeous.
me that is the high impact possibility of being a human in this realm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I've had to learn this. Maggie and I have had to do work on this, like just exposing some trauma here, because I have compared myself to my past lives. And in doing that, I have disempowered this lifetime. And I can see very easily why we have amnesia, because it doesn't serve us to have memories of our past. It actually does not serve you, because it doesn't help you be the greatest version of yourself today. It does not. Like
Or to
I've
maximize
had
the potential of now.
no,
If you're seeing it in comparison to something else and it looks small, why would you then make the most of it?
100%. So in my previous lifetimes, I have been a great being. And I have like done great things, massive things, epic things that have changed everything. And that is a hard comparison to this lifetime, where my true impact is just what if every child around me and every animal within this radius, within this radar around me feels safe and sound, that's the level of impact I'm talking. If my words inspire 7,000 people out there, then that's an amazing hero. In the past, I've commanded millions. So you see, like I've compared myself and it's disempowered myself. And even though I live a great life this lifetime, I never feel like it's enough. I never feel like it's
you're measuring up.
Yeah. To myself, ironically.
Yeah.
Not to any celebrity or any fucking
my
asshole,
feeling
to
is
me.
that you've just scratched the surface of your potential, because up until now you've been carrying all that past life trauma with you that has had you wanting to reject your life to some extent or lean out. With the work you're doing now, the potential for you to inhabit your body again and actually fully embrace your potential is so much more than it ever was.
Well, indeed.
So,
and I agree.
well,
I agree. Like, for me, the last 3 weeks with Maggie have been basically on this topic a lot. It's been on this topic because I've wanted to shift it. I wanted to get rid of it because it's not appropriate and it's fucking weird and it's not normal to have these memories and it does not serve me. You know,
too much.
The only good thing it can enable is that I can share some good cracking stories with you guys. I can illustrate,
and you bring a perspective that others need, but it hasn't helped you necessarily.
Yeah. So that has been and that has followed me my whole life. That's just not been now. It's been since I was a baby, since a little bubba.
But didn't you say that after you two had your trauma clearing, you did the most positive podcast you'd ever done?
Yes, we did. Last week we did our most positive podcast ever.
Yes, that was our last show. Yes.
Yeah, we're practically Little Miss Sunshine over here. It's
Yeah.
like
No, so that's telling you something, right?
Spreading
We've already done
sunshine
something.
sparkles.
yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely Campbell and I feeling very positive. Yeah, you speak, bud. Go.
Am I allowed to? God,
Yeah,
bloody
mate.
being in a room with
Go.
two women, God, it's hard to get
I know,
in.
yeah, come on.
I
Get your voice
was
up.
just going to say, it's like 10 minutes ago now. It's interesting, like, obviously words. Holy, right? They put up holy as being something good, like being full of holes.
Mm.
Like it's better to be whole, right? Like,
Mm.
so it's another inversion as far as I'm concerned is we don't want to be holy. We don't want to be full of holes. We want to be whole, right? So I think that's what we should aspire to rather than because when you're holy, especially when you're put up as holy by, some kind of church or something, you are full of holes, right? Because you're up there, you're getting adoration. It's like when when you talk about when you were a Buddhist priestess.
Priestess.
Is that
That's
what
a
it
nice
was?
way of putting it.
Priest?
Just a
Um,
nun. Just a nun,
just
mate.
a nun. Well, I mean, and that's another
We'll
word,
take
right?
priestess.
Like the men are fathers, the women are they just none.
Yeah.
All these
Yeah.
words, right? But they're like treated like celebrities, so that then and they don't really get to live their own lives and all that. Maybe back in the past and that, or if they're sitting up in a cave, but they are holy
Yeah.
because they're full of holes because they're not who they say they are. They're charlatans. They're getting adoration. They're accepting money from people. All this stuff that makes them less of who they are.
Yeah.
And so we shouldn't really, emulate
Aspire to
or
that.
have gurus. We should just try and make ourselves whole. And through that, with the whole field, it gets bigger, it gets stronger, we affect more people. There you go.
I totally
100%,
agree.
100%.
I totally agree. And I mean that's just one benefit of doing this sort of work today. Like you're literally bringing your power back. And I feel like we've done so much work, mental work now, and on uncovering all the deception and uncovering all the things that are going on. I feel like we've done so much there. And so mentally we've like empowered ourselves on one level. The information's disempowering, but we've empowered ourselves to know it because knowledge is power. So we have empowered ourselves to the extent of possibilities. But physically, we're all pretty broken. Physically, we have not empowered ourselves, like we walk around carrying so much that we are so unaware of,
Yes.
and you literally have to do that work to get into it. Like all right, I'll give you one of mine. This is personal. Look, I like the fact that we're in my lounge room right now. I don't do podcasts in this lounge room, and we're in yours, Maggie, and Campbell's got some crazy background, but he's in his dome, everyone. And like, I feel like this is very unplugged and
Do I
intimate.
look very white? I look like
Yeah, you do look a bit
like an
white.
elf or something. I'm
Yes.
trying to adjust my lights, but anyway.
You have just done a water fast, mate.
Oh, well, yes,
No,
exactly.
he's got his white light on the white dome. At least it
Yes,
hasn't
that's it. I'm
blown
just
up.
full of white light.
So, just an intimate story of mine. So, as I was growing up this lifetime, I felt really big. And this has been a thing for me this lifetime. Like, I was always taller than everyone. I was always at the back of the school photos with the boys. I was like basically taller than the boys. I was always broader. I was just always bigger. I never looked like one of those little, tiny little, size, tiny little girls. I never looked like a tiny little girl. Never happened. I was just never who I was. I remember like in year one, we had a dress up as your favorite book character day at school. And every single girl turned up as Little Red Riding Hood. Every single one of them. And I turned up as Darth Vader. And I think that really does because I used to go to the drive-in with my dad and it was all about Star Wars. And I was so anyway, but that really kind of sums it up. Like I was the very out, not in the sort of same like class as my co-female kids, right? And so I grew up always feeling that I was too big, too gigantic, that I never fit into my body, that my body was too big, that everything about me was just, and then I became too loud. And then I was like too big of a speaker and too opinionated and wanted to talk about really strange topics, and just like I was always too much. So I carried this energetic of being too much, that I was always an outsider. I was too big, too gigantic, too much. And that has been with me my whole life. And, you know, you would see like even, and I have this amazing special ability to really, you know, really,
Bigger people.
really make people fucking like, you either love me or hate me. And I really have this strong ability to upset human
Yep.
beings.
Seen it many times. It's amazing.
And I'm not doing anything more than I'm doing right now. I'm just
Oh,
being me and speaking and doing my thing, and like with a lot of love and compassion. But I just get into people's I don't know. You can explain it better than me, Maggie, what actually transpires there. But we saw it on the Bosnia tour with Tara. Like I just got
totally, man.
yeah, I
As
just
soon as he turned up, oh my God, she was just triggered out of
yeah.
control for the next 3 weeks. It was just incredible. Like,
Yep.
it's just hard to explain that one. It was just
It's
crazy because you were putting in the most effort of anyone to make sure, you know, you made sure you spent time and spoke to everyone. You made sure that everyone was happy. You were talking and entertaining and doing, you know, you were the ultimate sort of tour host, and she was sitting down there being pissed off, and that made her get triggered. It was just crazy. It was just insane to see. Just insane.
Yeah, I mean,
and
Suck, by the way.
no harm was being done, right?
Coming for
Absolutely
you.
no harm was being done. Kelly was just being
No, Kelly was just being Kelly.
making sure everyone was okay.
Yeah,
Doing her
yeah.
thing.
I mean, I think with, you know, small, piddly little, unintellectual, pathetic people like Tara.
oh, go Campbell. He's getting it out, everyone. Yep.
She, I think, wanted to be Kelly. She wished that she could be half of what Kelly was, and she knew she wasn't, and so that just triggered her beyond anything I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think yeah, I think she punished Campbell for that by stealing all of his
all the money, but that's all right. We're coming after you, Tara. Court dates are almost set.
Whoa, we are being personal tonight. See, we are in the lounge room. We're in the lounge
The
room
lion's
with,
coming out.
Yeah, we're in the lounge room without our counselor down there. So yeah.
Yes, well, that's one of the things that we talked about with Maggie is I've had a few things go on in the last couple of years, and sort of shook me out of my body a bit and made me feel a bit unempowered. But I'm feeling more. I found my inner lion in the last week or so.
Yes,
So it's
Campbell.
good.
Oh, he has been a bit
So
feisty.
watch
I've
out,
noticed.
people.
You've definitely got a bit more feisty, Campbell. Yep, I've noticed.
That's a win. That's a win.
It was a
I mean,
win.
the way I see it is, Kelly, you just, with all those past lives, with all the evolution your soul's had, it's just huge. And it's come into this teeny realm, into this teeny body, and it has
Teeny
this
realm.
enormous presence and scope. And it's gonna, anyone who's that integrated, who's got that much soul development, is gonna trigger other people who aren't in their power. And you're gonna encounter jealousy, you're gonna encounter people's demons, because they're responding to something in you that's of a magnitude they don't understand, and it's making them feel small.
We definitely have talked about that. Like did Tara have, you know, demons and attachments, and that was what was triggering her so much, like because it's just the energy, they just can't handle it.
At the very least, wounds of herself, you know, feeling that she's not big enough, she's not she can't command presence or attention and that makes her frustrated. And then that became a story about you two being wrong, you know, rather than communicating with you or just thinking, actually, maybe I've got some work to do.
Well, she just thought, poor little me.
Yeah.
Let's steal all the money.
Yeah.
See, like for me, because I have so many past memories, like the reason Cam and I really make a big effort to do these live events and to meet everyone who's connected with this channel, which next year we're going to go like to the extreme with that. It's because I know our audience. Like they're not new to me. Everyone that I meet in our audience, I know them. We have been present with each other many times, and I've spoken to them many times. Like it's not a new relationship. And so there's a sense of familiarity there with me. There's the gatherings that we inspire truly, for me, feel like they're so meaningful and powerful because I deeply love every single one that comes
It's a
because
homecoming.
they are
It's a
known
homecoming.
to me. Yes, yes. So anyone who's watching this right now, because you like resonate with Campbell and I already know you. I've already spoken to you countless times. We know each other.
She remembers you.
And so for me, I have a deep honor and respect for the people that are connected to us. And that will always be the case. And if you come into my presence and you're not part of that, and you're not used to that, and you don't feel that familiarity, it fucks you up.
Yeah, you're going to feel it.
And it true.
And I
I've
saw
seen
you.
it
I was
so
only
many
there
times.
for 3 days in Bosnia, but that was long enough for me to see how you, I was going to say like work the room. We weren't ever in a room, but you gravitate towards people and you hold their presence and you're zeroing in on what they need to hear. And you were healing people. You were fixing people's lives. You were being a life coach. You were doing all of that with every single person.
No, man, I'm more simple than that. I just want to speak to every single one of the people in our audience. Like I genuinely love
But that's
them.
a byproduct, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
They
that you
are
were
my
healing people.
They are my friends. They are my community. They have been with me, and we've been with each other a long freaking time. And there's
Lifetime.
literally millions on this realm who I hold countenance with. And this is
I
true.
don't doubt it.
But if you're not one of those people and you just happen to come into my space, unfortunately, it does fuck you up. And wow, does it mess you up? You become as petty and as small as possible, as whatever your personality will take you to. It shrinks bad.
It's just crazy. Like I said, I've seen it happen multiple times, and it's crazy. But they just go into pettiness. Like it's not that they're angry or they'll argue. They just start acting like these spoiled little kindergarten children. It's really really strange.
It's an odd one. I know, I agree, and it's happened always and forever my whole life. It's an oddity. It's an oddity, man. But why was I even talking about that?
Well, because we were saying how experiences like that have made a narrative that made you feel you were too much, when actually there was never anything wrong with who you are.
Yes, right? Exactly. So on my shadow side of this, on the shadow side of me, I've just spoken to empowered by it and powerfully, but on the shadow side, as Kelly Jones here in this little buddy of mine, like it has been this loopy sort of like process where I've discredited myself. I've tried to shrink myself, like physically and emotionally, and rejected myself and not merged with myself, and like gone through all these processes which have put me in a state of like not quite in a state. It's never depression, it's never apathy, but it's
detachment, at least detachment, isn't it?
It's somewhere in that that lower realm of energetic. It's somewhere there where I don't wake up excited, and I feel like I'm never enough. I'm not contributing enough. I'm never going to be able to present myself truly. It was
like, a lack of integration, wasn't it? Yeah.
So
it's interesting because you are all that. You're probably one of the most interactive and personable and caring people out there.
Yes.
So it's interesting that you have that point of view. That's
I agree. And I feel you show up that way for other people. It was just how you were showing up for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I am literally the worst critic of myself. I am so self-critical. I hold myself up to pass such regard, such honorable aptitude. We were watching The Rings of Power the other night, Campbell and I, the pre-sequel to Lord of the Rings. Fucking, it's great, right? Of course, I'm sitting there going, why did they even make this so we could watch this? Like, it's too great to be made despite this agenda. How did this even come out? What are they? But it was really great. And like Cameron, I was sitting there going, what happened to all this honor, to this, like these remarkable humans and elves and like characters and spirits and souls. It was so impeccable and so honorable and so noble in their presence, and like so refined, so elegant, so well integrated. And
we used to have like nobility, right, and nobles, and now we've just got knobs.
Yes, it's true. We have knobs. Yes.
The smaller version.
Smaller
Yeah,
version.
terrible, terrible. All of that, those qualities, like in our realm today, are inverted. All the
Totally.
Yeah.
nobles, all the lords, it's all inverted. They're all the worst. They're the evil bastards, right?
Yeah, and the real nobility is in the paupers and the small people who are coming up.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. So I mean,
totally.
I remember all of this. So I am so self-critical of myself this lifetime. So there's nothing I've done this lifetime that would like basically match or ease my sense of you know, honorability and presence from previous times. So this is why it's a bad
But
thing to
with the perspective that all of that trauma was impacting on your personal view,
Yes,
your
yes,
self-concept,
yes.
can you see yourself differently now?
Yes. So this is it. So this is me sharing the personal story. So over the last 3 weeks, we have done, Maggie does a very particular version of trauma clearing. And as she said, it's done very in one day, really. But the lead up to that is you've got to like go through and get deep and try to present all the things that, the repeated loops in your head. Like, I'm like, well, I'm a giant that doesn't fit into this body, Maggie. I'm never going to fit into this body. I just don't get it. Like, it's not my thing. Like, I'm just like, I can't merge with it. And I can't merge with anything actually. And everything's been obliterated so much. Everyone I love, I just can't merge perfectly with because I'm just like, they're going to die anyway. And we're going to die this lifetime anyway. And something's going to happen in this lifetime. So anyway, I'm 15 points later to Campbell's 2. And he had to like fully like really be pushed to get his fucking, I think he got up to 5 or something. It's like, all right.
7.
It's all right, let's add that one. I don't really feel it, but we'll put it in there.
Yeah. Just to flesh it out a bit,
What was you're like, my relation with marijuana? All right, we'll put that one in. I'm like, fuck, man, that's like way over here. I'm like, I'm talking about apocalyptic doom, and you're like, all right. I don't want to stop or anything. I just want
explosion
to
trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked Kelly, like, I'm like, oh, so what's this going to be like? And she goes, oh, you'll spend the first 3 hours just talking about stuff, then you'll have another one. And I think we were done in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's a whole
Yeah.
lot.
I know. How's that?
Anything else, Campbell? Anything else? You sure?
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. It's true. He's very yeah, well, let's talk about you in a second, buddy. Let's have you share a bit of your experience. So to finish mine, of the 3 weeks we went through this process, and it did take us 3 sessions. It's true, it did, Maggie, it did. But Maggie sets it up so you're paying for the healing, right? So it doesn't matter how long it takes. If it takes like fucking 3 years, she takes 1 day.
Maximum 5 sessions so far.
All right. Okay.
1 or 2.
Oh,
so,
yeah. So for us it was 3, and I have to say, as we were going through the points, and I was just like listing them and naming them and saying them, every time I said them, they just actually started shrinking naturally. Before we'd even done the healing trauma, I was just like, oh, that's so, what's that really, Kelly? Like, I was already, by just presenting them, it's already starting to shrink them. And then we started to do the trauma healing. I remember when we went into the obliteration one of about my memories of being obliterated, or obliterating others, or obliterating worlds, or whatever. As soon as we started going into it, this really clear voice in my head said the most simplest thing that was just like so ridiculous that I cannot believe I hadn't already just like nailed it that way. And it just said, no one dies, Kelly. That's what it said. It says, no one dies. And I was like, yeah, right. Of course no one dies. Why am I so
I don't have to feel guilty anymore.
traumatized by all of this? No one fucking dies. And it's just like, that's one voice that came out, and it instantly like released, as Maggie was doing, it's completely released that me holding on to
lifetimes
it as if,
of stuff.
like, it's my responsibility, and I feel bad about it, and I want to like do something to neutralize it. I want to do something equally as good, that sort of feeling, like, and that's what I was always so self-critical. So for me, this process has been really, really good, because I can say I feel more balanced. One, I feel more here. Like, I definitely feel more here. Like, there's nowhere else. Like, this is where I am. So I've merged with my present reality, which has probably, has not been here ever since my, yeah. I remember when I first like had a download when I was like 23, And it was like David Icke sound, like right into my pit. Have I told you the story, Campbell? Boom. And like I fucking saw everything all at once so quickly I couldn't even name it, freaked out. And I was literally out of my body for 3 months until I found, yep. Okay, that's another story. I won't get into it. But like, how easily could I just leave my body for 3 months? Like, that's how unmerged I was with like my present being. I could just be like, oh, I'm out of my body. I'll just stay here for a couple of months. Like, that's a weird thing to do.
Well, and you say that, and I think most of us are wandering around detached from our bodies until we do this work, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was an extreme case, but I would say, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're very right. Like, that's exactly what most of us do. On autopilot. That's autopilot, right? That's when you're living autopilot, everyday autopilot. I mean, one of the great things I would say about all the like events that I've remembered throughout all these timelines is that those events get rid of depression. That's one thing I will say. Depression is a result of automatic behavior. Depression is you in
numbing out.
Autopilot. That's where depression comes from. That's why when
we're numb and not connected to who you are. That's what I think of it as. Yeah.
And when we're out here, one of the greatest, funnest things that happens is any like natural explosion. Like it's not Campbell blowing himself up, just to be clear, you know, but like a storm, a big storm. If there's a big storm, it's all very exhilarating and it, you know, that sort of
activates us and wakes us up and puts us back in our bodies, actually.
But for most of us, we're on autopilot, right? So most of us are walking around, habitually walking around. So that sort of explosive sort of sudden shift, it doesn't happen. And we fall into like the lower vibes and depression. Yeah.
So, I definitely felt like I wasn't quite in my body. I remember I was actually sitting, I don't know, I must have been back in Perth, and I literally felt my energy body move sideways as I was sitting there. It just went, and I was like, "What?" And obviously,
really? What did anything trigger it?
Totally. I don't. No. It was just a normal sort of day. I think I was doing work, but I fully felt it just move. Like it was like, you know, half the edge was in the middle and half was out there, and I don't think it sort of reintegrated properly again, you know.
And how often does that happen that people don't notice it? How often is that happening, that people are dissociating or sliding out of their bodies and not even aware of it? At least you're aware of it in that moment. You have that experience of experiencing it.
Yeah.
Wait, Campbell, did you just say that happened and you never felt like it reintegrated?
Yeah, not properly. I mean, after I mean, not really the car crash, but after other things that happened, you know, like in the last couple of years.
Did that happen before the car crash?
No, I'm pretty sure that was after the car crash.
Interesting.
Yeah. But
that's really interesting, Campbell, because like obviously half of your body was totally impacted by that car crash.
Well, it's interesting too, because I felt it moving this way, and obviously it's left arm that's got the problem.
And your very unusual like kick. Sorry, everyone.
I
shared my worm story. You can share your kick story.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I mean, this is all secondhand information because I don't know, but yeah, no. When we were traveling, Kelly and I were staying in the same room for a lot.
The whole tour.
And apparently, I was just kicking my leg, like, but in time, like all night, it would just go up and then kick down. And
every
then,
like 30 seconds.
30 seconds, it would do it again. And so she actually got it on film. She actually one night just got out and filmed me.
What a creepy roommate. I know. I had to do it. I knew he wouldn't care because it was a bit weird, wasn't it? Like in the middle of the night, I was like, I've got to film this shit, man. Because every 30 seconds, boom.
Yeah.
Boom. And his leg just like bang, kick, bang, down. And it was just really unusual. And it's so interesting that you've just said that like you felt your energy move to outside of you by one half, and then you know you've got your whole accident down one half of your arm, and then this kick on one half of your body.
Yeah, right. It is very interesting. So, I mean, I do feel more in my body now, more reintegrated, definitely after after the session with Maggie. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's actually one of the reasons that, you told me I had to go and talk to Maggie, because of this weird tick thing. And something else I'm going to do in the future is I'd like to do a regression. I mean, you can probably do it too, Maggie, to see, because, with my accident, I wasn't there, right? I was gone.
Hey, Campbell, tell everyone the story of your accident, because we've never shared that. Let's share that.
Okay. So I was driving down the road, like it was sort of 10 to 9 in the morning. I was, completely sober and straight and all that kind of stuff. Normal day, just driving along, and I just, when you're not off, you get that sort of not off feeling. I did that, but like halfway into it, sort of everything slowed down, and I felt it, and I thought, oh shit, I'm falling asleep while I'm driving. And that's all I remember. Then I woke up with my car wrapped around a tree. I drove about a kilometre down the road, stayed on it, and at the end of the road, it turned, and there was a really big tree at the end, and I hit it like just dead on, destroyed the car. Like it was a little Citroen A4, so not a real big bonnet or anything. My feet were fully extended. I don't even know how it happened. The front was completely destroyed and caved in, and my feet were extended, and I didn't have a scratch on me. And there, yeah, got out, and then about a minute after that, started screaming because I had the worst pain I've ever felt in my arm. So it was a really weird thing. I just blacked out and just went down and T-boned this, basically hit the tree probably 60, 70 k's an hour with no brakes, and yeah, walked away. But obviously I think kinked my neck at some point in the crash, and it pinched a nerve, which caused all the trouble in the arm. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. So yeah,
Because you weren't tired. You weren't tired, were you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it was more like something
Yeah,
literal, deliberate, did something
came out of nowhere. I was like I said, it's in the morning. I was completely straight, completely awake, driving down, and just got this nod. And as I was getting it, like in the middle of it, I thought, "Oh my God, I'm falling asleep while driving." So it was just totally random. I never had anything like that before. T-boned the tree and walked away, but obviously, nerve damage in my left arm. So it was a bit of a strange one. So that was one of the weird things that's happened to me in the last 4 years. And that obviously is something that we went over in our session, just to clear that. I mean, it's again, there was no sort of conscious trauma about it or anything, but clearly there's something, there's still trauma being held in my arm.
Yeah.
And yeah, and since then I've definitely felt before then I felt the energy move, then the big shock came, and since then I've never felt like I've really quite been in my body, never sort of reintegrated, not being able to focus like I used to or think like I used to, it's just like I was just out of my head, out of my body. So yeah, it was a weird one.
Yeah, so I mean, you're saying that you feel more in your body now?
Yeah, definitely over the last week or so, for sure. I'm more cognitive. I can focus a bit better, and which is one of the main things. I just couldn't think properly. I just couldn't get my thoughts together and focus on things, and I was always.
But that's an effect of trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah.
It's the brain fog, dissociation, gets us out of our minds, affects our thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of my trauma issues. But like I said, it wasn't. It must have been subconscious, because I wasn't scared of getting in cars or driving or anything like that again. In fact, I've driven without a license for the last couple of years, allegedly.
Allegedly.
So yeah, but obviously, there's something going on there.
Yeah.
Or at least was. If it's been healed now, we'll see.
And like when you shared that story with me, like my first instinct was that this wasn't Campbell falling asleep. Like it wasn't him falling asleep. This was either this was a predestined moment that was forced upon him, and he'd already agreed to it. So he felt he was put to sleep, or something more nefarious occurred. And we've often pondered on it to try to figure out what potentially did actually occur, but it was that accident that bought Campbell the opportunity of his reality today. Like it was
Totally.
after that accident that he basically sat down and did a YouTube video, wasn't it?
100%, because I couldn't do much else. Like literally for 18 months, I literally couldn't do much else. I could hobble to the desk and sit down and talk. But if it hadn't happened, I never would have put as much time into the channel. It wouldn't have grown like it did. You know, you wouldn't have seen me. Tartaria Australia wouldn't have started. Like so many things. So, you know, I often say like the last 4 years have been, you know, the best and the worst of my life, right? Because as all this crap was happening, all this really good stuff was happening too. You know, I've met amazing people. I've traveled. You know, it's just that side's been amazing, and it would have happened, I don't think, if we didn't get the accident.
Do you remember, Campbell, our first session together, which was a higher self session for you, what your higher self said about why that happened?
Not really.
Not to put you on the spot, because
Must
you
have
know,
been
don't
part
remember
out of my
everything.
body. Like,
Are you happy for me to say?
yeah. Tell me.
So it was really clear that your higher self said it was an agreement that you made with your higher self and with your
Yeah.
team that you're going to have this event because it was going to trigger all these positive events for you. That came through so strong.
Yeah. I mean, I've always looked. I mean, I probably do remember that because I've always looked at it like that, like because so much good has come from it. It's just been a real pain in the butt, the other side of it. But I mean, also I don't. It's not a lifetime change. I think it's all going to heal up and clear up and everything. It's just, I guess I needed to slow down very quickly and reassess and do different things, right?
Yeah. It was like a catalyst for so much change, and you're building the life of your dreams now, aren't you, because of it? So
I'm on a completely different path to what I was before the accident, like 100%. I actually had a job back then. I can't believe it. Makes me feel dirty you're saying that.
That's what jobs do. Yeah. Working for other people sucks.
Yeah. So I mean, so that side of you, Campbell, is very. I have to you have to come and sleep over so I can observe the kick after this trauma healing to see if it's like around.
Still going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think so many of us, like I'm almost all of us, are walking around not quite integrated into their bodies and into their energetic realms. And I mean, that's one way, the car accident, or, the feeling that it was. Sorry, did you say the energy shifted before or after the car accident?
After.
After, yeah. So he got a tangible, knowingness that his energy was not quite centered and he was infusing all of it. Now, you imagine like everyone who's listening today, like the traumas that every single one of us at some point have had in our lives. I mean, it just can show up in so many different ways. It's insane how it can show up. One of my first water fasts, actually, when I was 24, one of the first things that came up for me, I think it was like day 8 or something, and it must have got to some fat cell that I had like stored something in something. And I had this full-on traumatic memory of being in year 1 and going to school, and my best friend coming up to me and saying, I don't want to be your best friend anymore. I found a better one, or I found a new one, or something like this. And like in year 1, and I remember, like, what came up is I remembered the whole experience came up for me when I had doing this water fast. And, and I was so shocked and I was confused because I didn't know why I'd been rejected. And then I was feeling so rejected. And then I walked around all day lost at school, like all day, didn't know where to plant myself, didn't know where to sit, didn't know who I could trust, didn't know who wanted to be my friend. I went through so much on that day. Went home, I think I cried and didn't want anyone to see because I didn't want to tell anyone because I felt so ashamed. And I was like, what are you, 6 when you, how old are you in year 1? 6,
That's
6?
a big deal when you're 6, right?
Yes, right, in year 1.
Yeah.
And of course, in year 1, you can't process any of that. You're not cognitive to any of that. You're just having the really raw experience and potentially the first experience of feeling ashamed,
rejected
and all these things, right? So all that went in. Okay, but I didn't and I didn't remember any of it, right? After that, I got obviously the next day and whatever. I didn't, but at the age of 24, when I did this water fast, woo, up it all came, boof. I remember the name of the girl. It was Tina Gavros, right? I remember everything about her. I remember the whole.
What a bitch.
No, I forgive you, Tina. I'm not the kind, but like, yeah, I'd be very surprised if she was watching this. So, but you know, like seriously, like that's like what can happen. That's your guinea pig example. For me, that's what happened. I literally, oh, and
well,
so
sorry,
I just to say that I just like sat. I was obviously alone doing my I was in my studio doing it, and I just sat there and I like bawled my eyes out. I cried and I was just like could not believe the amount of emotion and energy that was coming out on this topic. Yes, and like, can I just tell you that those feelings of being rejected and ashamed and confused about why they have followed me, because as we just talked before about how I really can upset people very randomly and unpredictably, all those little feelings at 6 would come up. What's wrong with me? I'm like, what have I done? You know, like,
I'm not good enough.
I'm so confused. You were like my best friend yesterday, and now you're not today, and I don't know why you're so pissed off.
What did I do?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is how much it can integrate into our like adult life, you know. Yeah.
And influence how we feel about ourselves. Yeah, totally. And it just reminded me of one person I work with who is one of the brightest people I've ever met. Beautiful soul. I won't give too much away, but she's in her 70s. And we did the trauma clearing together. And she remembered 8 years old, a teacher coming up to her because she asked a question in class, an innocent question because she didn't know what was going on and wanted an answer. Teacher was obviously in a bad mood, maybe was going through a divorce, who knows what was going on, but walked up to her, pointed in her face and said repeatedly, "You're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid," in front of a whole class of people. And she went through her entire life carrying this mistaken belief about herself. But honestly, if you spoke to her, she's so articulate, so intelligent, so gifted, has a particular gift and a service that she offers that she's never been able to get off the ground because of this self-limiting belief that's been cycling around and around and around, that she's not good enough because she doesn't have the skill or the ability or whatever. And since we've cleared that, I've been sending people her way for her service, and she's now starting to expand into what she's capable of. And she's a very young 70-odd. You know, she's a very young soul. So she has potentially still got a whole life ahead of her.
Is that
but now
crazy?
is able to approach it without this hampering her and making her feel that she can't present herself to people or market herself to people or push herself because there's nothing there to push. When there was so much always.
Oh my God.
Just that one thing. You know?
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Oh my God.
And infuriating, isn't it?
Because, you know, because you carry this, it limits you. But what it also does is make that side of you that you think is bad, like I'm stupid or I'm ashamed of myself, like max. It maxes out. Enormous. So you become literally the smartest person that anyone ever knows, you know, like you become.
But you never see it.
Yeah, but you can't see it. Exactly. So
total disempowerment and detachment from your gifts, which you're here to bring to the world, to help the world. Because you can't deliver it because you don't believe yourself capable of it.
Because you can never own it.
Yeah.
You can totally be it to everyone else who ever meets you, but you can never fucking own it.
Never see it and own it. Yeah.
Man, do you have any of this, Campbell? Do you relate to any of that?
I'm definitely, you know, I went to 10 schools or something. And yeah, I definitely remember, you know, with all teachers seem to be like that, especially back in our day. I mean, God, I was just actually thinking, imagine what some of the trauma the kids that are going to school today are going to have. The teacher told me I was the cat and I had to poo in front of them. but yeah, I remember things like that for sure. Yeah, like you know, all the time really, because you know I was always, you know, asking questions I shouldn't and talking to teachers like they didn't want me to, and you know, I definitely wasn't a in uniform student, shall we say. So yeah, I've kind of dealt with that. But I mean, I just always, again, it didn't sort of, we spoke about this with the session, and I don't have anything I can remember or think of as that's caused trauma.
Yeah.
I just always figured that they were stupid and I was smarter than them, so I ignored it.
Again, it's that self-cleaning mechanism of I'm not going to take that, that's yours.
Yeah,
Which is brilliant. We all had that.
Teachers are that stupid. That's just crazy.
I mean, that is a unique quality. Let's talk about that, Mag. Like that Campbell, he feels like he's only been on this realm maybe once or twice, like really, clean and clear. That potentially this realm is the one that you do go through your trauma, and it picks up the trauma and it builds on the trauma. The more trauma,
and the more lives you have, the more you get. Yeah.
Yes, and the more you carry, and then you got this whole your own ancestral time, like your own ancestral trauma, let alone your family's. Like, but you've got your own.
Yeah.
And
like, then this lifetime, which is usually enough for most people.
Yeah. So when you've had a lot, you're very impacted by it. Like, just like me having the experience in year one, like that's like moved through my adult life. And I've had to do, and not even consciously. So it's, to unfold that, we've had to do work. But with Campbell, he hasn't had that same,
it didn't stick.
He hasn't been battered. He hasn't been battered by it so much. So he's just able to be going like, dude, that hurt, but who cares? Like,
that's your shit,
yeah,
not
it's
mine.
all right. It's not like I'm adding to it. Yeah, he hasn't got anything to add to. It hasn't built
and he
up
doesn't
yet.
create a story about himself around it, because there isn't this underlying weakness already from the past lifetime. Well, I guess it's probably confirmation of the fact that you've not been here, or at least not been here very often. If this is the realm where that happens, and if Kelly, who is a brilliant person, and we can all see that, had such a distorted view of herself only because of lifetime upon lifetime upon lifetime of accumulated trauma, telling her these stories that weren't true and bringing them into this life. You've come into this life like a clean slate, haven't you?
Yep.
Like
pretty
knowing
much,
who you are, confident in who you are, and I hope I'm not giving anything away here, but you had some unpleasant experiences of being bullied, which I was saying to you, so should we do something around that? Thinking there's another trauma, and you're like, no, because I used to just fight them back, or just I don't know, I'd say something to them, or I'd go one worse,
Yeah.
You just didn't take it the way that other people do. You didn't absorb it. It was like you had this thick skin and water off a duck's back. It just didn't stick for you. And what a blessing, because you're the only person I've ever met with that.
Same. I think so too. You may be the only person I've ever met that doesn't have an accumulative story about themselves, that isn't self-critical, that doesn't have lack of self-love,
limitation,
doesn't have limitations because of that. Like, it is a very unique quality. I think you and I, Campbell, are like uniquely the extremity of each other. Like you don't build a story, you don't hold on to things, it doesn't accumulate, it doesn't hold into you, and I'm like way on the other end, more extreme than anyone else I know. So like I think maybe that's why we work, because we are
opposites.
Freaks. We're freaks at the other end of the spectrum. I've never met anyone like
Beautiful
you that can
freaks.
do that.
It's weird. I mean, I haven't thought about it too much, but I've just always looked at people who, like whatever, teachers, bullies, all that, and just thought, geez,
it's your problem.
They're an idiot, aren't they? Like, why would you act like that? Or I just,
And there's something for us to learn from that, because that is the attitude, isn't it? That's the attitude we're supposed to take going forward. Not that it's all everybody else's fault and that we never look at our shadow and we never accept that sometimes we can get it wrong. But I think most of us are wandering around with this story that we're very, very wrong when we're not, because of past trauma.
Yeah.
And you're not encumbered by that, Campbell, and that's really refreshing. And it's inspiring.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything else. So that's what I've always been like that. So it's
I mean, it's interesting because it's like you don't hold yourself to any expectations outside of this moment. Like you're just like, and it's a very obvious quality. I've spent so much time with you. I may have spent more time with you now than like anyone outside of your family. And I literally watched you interact with your world and day. And he literally, like, I mean, if I said something awful to you. Like if I did something really mean and awful, I don't think he wouldn't even notice. Like he wouldn't even for whatever happened in that, he wouldn't even have heard it, you know, or he would have heard it in a way that it was definitely not awful. Like he would have, and even if he heard me say something truly awful, which obviously I've never done, but if I said something truly awful to him, you know, it might like make him just think about it for 5 seconds, but it wouldn't hurt his heart. You know, even if I said something super, super to the worst possible awfulness, it wouldn't touch his heart, would it?
He just think, why is Kelly being a dick?
Yeah, pretty much.
Kelly's in a bad mood. That's right. Kelly's in a bad mood. I'm going back to the dome. Or, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't get to your heart, would it?
No, I definitely wouldn't sort of go away and think about it and think, oh my God, was she right? No, I
which
truly,
is the story of my life.
I truly don't ever remember having thoughts like that ever, like ever. And you know, like I said, I've been lots of schools, so you know, lots of people said, you know, bad, mean things to me, but no, I just think, well, you're an idiot. Good luck with life. That's not going to go well. I'm going somewhere better, right?
And this is the way of the future. You're an idiot. Good luck with life.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and it's not like I hate them or anything. I'm not attached either way, right? It's just like, oh well, what a dick. I'll go find someone else.
Which is like so unique, because if you said something truly mean and horrible to me, like truly said something awful, it would go straight to my heart, and I would go straight home, and I would be tossing and turning, or I would agonize about it. It would be in
ruminating.
Yep, it would be adding to my own self-critical nature of like, of course he thinks that because, you know, of course I'm this, or, you know, I would take it on way more. And I've never seen anyone like Campbell who just wouldn't happen. It just would not happen. And I mean, I just find that it's just very unique.
I want the magic formula.
Well, another thing I think about is and I only sort of realized this, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, that like exactly that, in the moment, I don't take the stuff on. And so that's why I don't have much to deal with. Like I fully noticed that. And growing up, I also did notice other people did, because I was always, you know, pretty good with my words and stuff, and so if someone really annoyed me, I could say like 3 words and they'd just be like destroyed. I'd be like, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And most people who did pick on me in that, like within a few days, they were wanting to be my best friend, and I was just like, yeah, no, go away. But yeah, so I have noticed that yeah, people do take it on, and I don't, for sure. Don't know why. I've just always been this way. I just don't know.
It's so
it just seems silly to me to take it on.
Well, I mean, it's
just an opinion from someone who you don't like. So
it's
why
good.
Would you take it on?
Right.
But this is, but even if it's someone that you really loved and respected and really cared for, you still wouldn't take it on. So, I mean, I think this is, you know, it's a really good example of what it is to have not got that accumulated trauma, to not have, and essentially where Campbell is right now, it's just sort of like where doing trauma clearing and doing the work around this individually is sort of where you'll end up, you know,
where it should put you.
Yes, where it should put you, basically. Because nothing about Campbell's belief structure will limit him, because he doesn't have the storyline going on. No. You know?
And there you are with a public platform, and anyone with a public platform of your sort of size is obviously going to have people come and criticize you. You know, to have that kind of nature about it and that perspective, it's perfect, isn't it? Because it's really never about you. It's usually about people projecting their stuff and just being trolled. But some people can let that pull them down and stop them from doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I've had several people like just fully turn on me, and I just can't contact with them. I'm just not, they're a bloody idiot, and don't want to be around them, and then that's the end of that, right? I just go on to what I want to do.
But no internalized story about there being something wrong with you. And why should there be?
No. If anything, it's me wondering why they're such an idiot. Like, I wonder how they got like that.
What happened to them?
What happened to them?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Whereas, I mean, I have commanded millions of people and have like destroyed millions of people and have done terrible and brilliant things like over and over again. You would think that I would be much more tough and much more hardened
Confident.
up, like get
Yeah.
over this. When I go through these like processes with Maggie, I just think, oh my God, Kelly, what the fuck? You're such a baby in this lifetime. You're so like you're so sensitive and it's so annoying and like damn, like why is this it's so retarded compared to what I remember. I'm not
But
speaking
it's that
straight.
vulnerability, isn't it? That vulnerability created by lifetimes of wounding
And
that
Yeah.
made
yeah.
you that.
I mean, it's interesting because like shadow work's always just seems silly to me. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, why would you focus on anything bad if you had that? Why would you focus on like I just don't understand that why people do shadow work, and it's probably because I don't have any work to do there, right?
You're at peace with yours. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe I should stop telling people to not do it then. Maybe
Maybe that only applies to you.
yeah, maybe, right. Me and my freakish ways.
Well,
No,
look,
it's
I mean,
good. It's all good. It's a blessing.
it's definitely helped me. Like I've definitely, I mean, so many years of going in and out of trying to understand myself better and understand myself spiritually and understand my values and my morality and where I stand on this realm and who I am. Like I've been through that journey. That my life has been that's what I've turned my life into. It's been trying to understand who I am and
The nature of reality all around it.
yes, and what my intention was coming into this realm and what my legacy is to be and
Purpose.
to my yes, to who was am I to what am I serving, you know, like I've always, you know, that's always been sort of my process this lifetime. So there's been a lot of internal inquisition, a lot. So I'm the other side of Campbell there. I'm the opposite side
Yeah.
there.
I mean, I've definitely had internal. I mean, I've sat and thought, like, am I just oblivious? Am I just like ignoring everything? Is like, you know, what? Why don't I, you know, why don't I have any of this? You know, these things affect me and everything. Is it just because I'm just too blasé or I'm too this or too that? And I don't know. I just there's nothing there, right? It's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's funny. It's yeah, it's just the way I see the world. Like, why would you take on other people's crap? Like, they're clearly
Right.
it's clearly their crap, and it's clearly them who are the injured, wounded ones. So why would I ever take that
Right.
on? Or
And the
once
only
they
reason you
reveal
would,
themselves, why would I ever spend time with them? Like,
yeah.
you know, and I
And
find
the
it
only
very,
reason you
very
would,
easy. Like, you know, when people do, you know, do wrong by me, I find it extremely easy to just cut all cords and not ever think about them again. I just
and that was something I had to learn. I had to learn that because everything that happened to me became a story about myself and there being something wrong with me. I had no boundaries and I had to actually, you know, we're going back about 10 years now, but I had to actively learn what boundaries were and then apply them and then consciously cut people out of my life who were taking advantage of the fact that my vulnerable internal state made me a target really for those kind of people who could manipulate that woundedness in me and make me feel bad very easily
yeah.
because I would make it a story about there being something wrong with me because of trauma.
I
So,
definitely got that as well. People trying to manipulate me that because, you know, I am pretty laid back and I don't seem that threatening. But problem
but
is,
you're
you
also
know,
strong. You've
push
got an
me and
internal
like
strength.
I go from calm and collected to you don't want to be within 10 meters of me like in half a second.
Yeah.
And so I've got that as well. Like, so like people have always tried to, you know, manipulate me because they think I'm easy.
But that was underestimating you. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
seeing your gentleness and thinking that was weakness. When
yeah,
actually
exactly.
you're a Leo, right? And that
Oh,
internal strength
yeah,
is always
man.
there. And all my dad was a Leo. I've got a brother who's a Leo. Leo males come across very gentle with like this contained power. And people underestimate them and they push them, and then it's just like this rah out of nowhere, and it sets people straight, and no one ever does it again. You know,
Yeah,
I've seen it over and over and over.
exactly.
It's this fire in you that can just blow up any second.
Yeah,
just not
like,
visible all the time.
really fast. Yeah, if you do the wrong thing, say they put me in the wrong position, try to take advantage, it's instant. As soon as I sniff it, it's boom. You don't want to be near
Well,
me.
you're definitely more feisty this week, Campbell, more than I've ever seen you. I've
Well,
noticed you're definitely
yeah.
like
Well, it's probably since you've known, because you met me after the accident. So I've definitely since then have been less feisty. I definitely, I could definitely be feisty. But so yeah, it's good to have some of that back again. I definitely need that. It's definitely part of my makeup. That's, it goes with the being laid back and that, because obviously, like we said, people try and come in and take advantage of you. So it's good to have that there, and the awareness around it. I can sniff them out, and then I can chop them down very quickly.
Yeah, I
have
had to
you
learn that. I've got it now.
with your other with some of your other clients, I guess you'd call them, like you would have come across some pretty extraordinary like examples and illustrations of how trauma has impacted people's whole lives without them knowing. Do you have any others that
Yeah.
you could share with us?
So one example popped into my mind when you were talking about how your active past life memory has made you feel a sense of responsibility for wrongdoings or perceived wrongdoings from the past that's made you want to try and right the wrongs in this lifetime. One of the other people I know who has a brilliant recall of her past lives remembers a past life that I was in with her, where we were a coven of 13 witches. We were all being hanged because we'd all been caught, and she was the leader of the coven, and she was made to watch as this is a bit gruesome, as each one of us were hanged one after the other in front of her. So she had to watch her beloved coven all die in front of her, and yeah, it was pretty gruesome. She can remember all the details. There were crows everywhere circling around picking up soul parts when this was going on, and all of us have crows as messengers in this lifetime. I do. I've always have had. But she came into this life with that memory and with this sense, burning urge to try and gather all these women together and then protect them, because she failed to protect them in that lifetime. And it was an obsession for her, to the point where it was really making her ill. She was dreaming about it. She was thinking about it all the time. And we did this trauma clearing work. We cleared that past life trauma, and she was able to let go of it completely. It's all gone neutral. It's not that she doesn't care, and it's not that she doesn't remember. The memory's still there, but the emotional charge that was attached to it and the story that she'd made up, that she was fully responsible and that she needed to somehow atone for it, is gone.
Yeah.
And it was making her ill. So that's one biggie. And that's past life stuff, and most people don't have access to that, right? But I've had a couple of young lads come to me recently and do this.
Yeah.
So I've had a 22-year-old, absolute sweetheart. He's a care worker, and by 22, most people haven't accumulated too much trauma, you would hope, but there were a few things that were happening that had set up an OCD pattern with him, where he was at work and he was receiving this kind of feeling that he had to, it was like something was controlling his mind and saying, you have to watch this football game, or you have to do this and this in this order, otherwise something terrible is going to happen. So he was pursuing this OCD pattern and realizing that it didn't make any difference whether he followed those things or not. It wouldn't change the course of events. So he knew consciously it wasn't helping, but still felt compulsive with OCD, obsessive compulsive, felt compulsively driven to do it. And it was taking up so much time. It was stressing him out. It was making him feel mentally unwell. So we cleared that as one of the things that we were clearing. And he sent me a text the next day and said, I don't have any of those patterns anymore. They're gone. And one of the other patterns that he had was not being able to receive praise, because his brothers used to belittle him, and he was a sensitive one out of the family, and made a story about that being something wrong with him, when actually it's one of his best qualities. And he got given Employee of the Month and sent me another text to say I was able to receive that and accept it and think, yeah, actually, I'm really good at what I do, instead of rejecting it, pushing it away and thinking I'm not worthy of it, which has been the story of his life. So these seem smaller, but they're still life-changing, right? I mean, he can now at 22 go through his life without those old stories hampering him and limiting him, and I guess restricting him from experiencing the blessings that life has to give. So there's a couple. A woman called, well, I'm not going to tell you her name, but a lovely woman I work with who was in her 50s and earlier in her life had two experiences where she'd gone on holiday and someone close to her had either got sick or died. And that's how trauma works. It can be just two totally unrelated, random events. Suddenly that becomes a story about, I can't go away, I can't go traveling because someone I love is going to die or get sick. So she'd spend her whole life avoiding going traveling, or going traveling but just worrying, like mad the whole time while she was away, anxious, like you wouldn't believe. So we cleared that, and she went on a 2-week retreat straight after our clearing and came back and said, I didn't think about it once. And that's the first time in 50 odd years that I've not had that ruin my holiday or ruin my experience of traveling.
Yeah. It's
So,
amazing
you know,
how
just
fast it works. Like I was,
yeah,
it's you know, it's a short kind of session, a short what's not the right word, procedure, but
method, yeah,
method.
yeah.
But yeah, when you did a couple of mine, and because then you asked, you know, what were we talking about, and I couldn't. There was a couple I couldn't even remember. I'm like, oh, what were we talking about? I don't know. So
And for me, that's the best response, when
so
people completely
fast. It's
forget what they were
crazy.
clearing.
Yeah.
I just find it amazing. I mean, I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. It's very intimate for us. You know, we're really just sharing our lives with you, and our dogs, and our toilet breaks, and our worms,
Wounds.
and our wounds.
Worms.
Yeah, our worms and our wounds. But like, I hope you're enjoying it, because, you know, the point is to sort of illustrate, just because we've gone through this experience now with Maggie, like how subtle trauma can be that actually changes the course of your life, and how much we all carry, and that there are remarkable healers in this world, Maggie being one of them, that can actually assist you relatively painlessly and super fast, because this is the quickening, don't forget, super fast, to actually get rid of the things that, you know, all the blocks you know about, the loopy blocks you know about, where you feel bad about yourself, or you criticize yourself, or you feel anxious about yourself, all those ones, and then all these other unknown subtle ones that you don't even remember have occurred, but that have all played a part in building up to this bigger story that's disempowering you, and not making you feel confident to go out into this world right now, and live your best life, and make powerful decisions, and open up that thing, or finish that thing, or say yes to that thing, you know, like all of those things, like that would make your life just so much more complete. And so the purpose of this episode was to highlight a wonderful opportunity that each one of you have the right and the option to choose moving forward, to actually take the time, now that you've freed your mind from all of the last 4 years and the deception, to actually start to free the limitations on your power source, essentially the thing that like will make you step forward and contribute to this realm, and to, like, you know, support this idea of having the biggest dream possible, and bringing forth that energy that the biggest dream wins, so that, you know, humanity must like dream again. And to do that, we have to be powerful people again. And to do that, we have to clear our trauma and our toxicity. So that was the purpose of this entire podcast. And it is my highest hope that, like, you guys out there have been moved into action to investing in this side, to, like, you know, healers, like, they don't charge enough, honestly, for what they're able to do to your life, for what they're able to accomplish, that 47 years of my life I could not complete by myself. I couldn't do it myself. And I fucking tried. Let me
Nor could
tell
I.
you, did I try? I tried. So for an investment, you know, in your life, actually finding a healer is just right now powerful motherfuckers. Powerful mother fludders you will become.
Mother fathers, yes.
Mother fludders.
It's the best money I ever spent was doing this for myself, without a doubt. And I, like I said, wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, because that was one of mine. Being belittled and mocked for speaking in front of groups. So for me, standing up in front of any amount of people and speaking, that's a testament to the fact that this works, and it's worked for me. That's only one of mine, one of many.
Let's get you on stage when we come to the UK then, I think.
Oh God.
No. We'll put her in a booth. We'll put her in a booth and she can work her magic on the audience. But like
that works. That works.
So I mean, Cambell and I did all this work with Maggie on Zoom, right? So right now, like, we don't even have to be in each other's. We don't have to go into her lounge room and lie on her couch. You know, we can lie on our own couches and we can speak, like all of my sessions were done right here, where I sit right here, exactly the scene you're sitting in right now. Campbell's where he sits right there
Exactly,
is where he did
literally
it.
exactly where I am. Yeah.
I mean, that is the beauty
Magic. Yeah.
of doing this work right now. And I would say, I honestly feel that the healers of our realm are being supercharged before anyone else. I truly believe that, because it is them that is going to help free up this constipation we all have within our souls. That,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a very special and very honorable quality to be of service as a healer today. All the modalities, everyone out there who's doing something.
Totally.
I love it. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. So we'll leave all Maggie's details in the description, so you can get in contact with us. And there can literally be, something debilitating that literally stops you living life properly, that you're totally focused on, or it could just be a cycle you've noticed in yourself where you just can't seem to get past a certain level. Anything,
yeah, even if you don't know where it originates, this still works.
There you go. She's the clearer. Maggie the clearer. So yeah, like definitely, if you've got anything you're worried about, or if you just want to step up, get to the next level in life, definitely check out the description, contact her, and like Kelly said, you can just do it all over Zoom from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah. Do you want to say? Go, Maggie. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that I offer just a free consultation chat, just to scope out whether it's right for people as well. So,
there you go. Jeez.
Yeah, because
gives people a chance to work out if it's right for them.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, you have to find the healer that resonates with you. I mean, ideally, you want to find the healer that has been your counsel before. I mean, Maggie's been my counsel many, many times. Like, I go to her for this lifetimes of this, and she has been in my counsel in that way. And so innately, I am completely at ease, and there's just a natural, it's like finding Gandalf in your life. It's like, oh, great, my healer has turned up. Where have you been? Just in time. She's back.
He just fell from the sky.
Yeah.
and for me, every time I've needed healing, I've recognized my healer. I've known in my heart, this is the person I need to go and see. This person will help me. So let your intuition guide you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trust it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, Maggie, just over the last 3 weeks doing the work with you, I just like to say a very big honorable thank you, my friend. It's I know the work that we've done is going to supercharge all the places I want to go in my life. I don't think we will have reached my beautiful dreaming of having a stadium gig if I had not have done this energy work with you the last 3 weeks. So from my heart, my friend, thank you so much. You've been a super incredible, a very powerful counsel and healer in my life and lifetime. So
thank you.
I honor you, mate.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with you, because it's been one of the greatest blessings of mine, and I mean that. And thank you for having me here. What a great chat.
Thanks for coming.
Fun.
Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed that. It feels very personal, this episode. Probably last week's was our most positive, and this week's is our most personal. Ever. Yeah, that's
Fished out all the worms.
That's right. And next week's going to be our most friendly one ever. We're on a new tangent. You guys should be seeing a shift in Cambell and my podcast moving forward because of this work. You'll start to see a different quality, a different resonance occurring, I would say.
Yeah. No more grumpy old Kelly.
You'll miss me. You'll all miss it. You'll miss my rant. You'll miss my rants, but I'll replace it with like rampages of appreciation.
There you go.
Beautiful. Awesome. Beautiful. Love it.
All right. Any last words?
No. Thank you, Maggie, for my healings as well. I'm definitely feeling them, and I'll let you know how I keep going. And
please do. Yeah, absolute pleasure.
Future. And anyone out there, definitely, if Maggie, resonates with you, then get in contact.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, if I'm the right person for you, I look forward to meeting you again.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Friday on Tartaria, Australia. Woo!
All right. Stay awesome.
Much love,
Bye.
much love.